With a few notable exceptions, you'd be hard-pressed to find an animal who has impacted and nurtured the development of humanity, like the chicken has. As early as 8,000 years ago, the domestication and hybridization of various jungle fowl marked the beginning of a symbiotic relationship that would last millennia. From the beginning of agrarian society to its sanctified status in the Persian Empire, through 1980 and the launch of the 10-piece McNugget, chickens proved beyond doubt to be the most ubiquitous birds on Earth. Yet, it wouldn't be long before man would look upon the face of God and etch his own name into poultry history. The year is 1984. Shigeru Miyamoto and the Ragtag Boys were busy working on the highly anticipated third installment to the Zelda franchise. Following The Legend of Zelda and Zelda 2, The Adventure of Link, Zelda 3, nobody calls it that, A Link to the Past, would soon become recognized as one of the greatest games of all time and pioneer features that would define the series for years to come. But more importantly, A Link to the Past would serve as the gateway through which Cuccos would introduce themselves to the Zelda universe and gaming community at large. In short, Cuccos are chicken-like creatures. Since the release of A Link to the Past, Cuccos have become a staple of the Legend of Zelda series, typically found in quiet villages and other semi-rural areas. Evidence has confirmed that the Cucco is not associated with the IRL cuckoo. However, we aren't given much information as to how exactly Cuccos relate to the birds of Hyrule or otherwise. It has been speculated that Cuccos acquired their name through a deformation of cockerel, while others credit onomatopoeia. Some go as far to suggest that Cucco is just the Hylian word for chicken. However, Kato from Breath of the Wild definitively proves that chickens exist as a separate species within the Zelda universe. Within the community, there seems to be no consensus in terms of pronunciation. Through all of my research, I've found these to be the most popular takes. We know the Japanese pronunciation is Cucco, as katakana is, for the most part, a phonetic alphabet. And while we have an official written English translation, this doesn't really answer any questions. The only official pronunciation I could find was a clip from the Hyrule Warriors Direct in August of 2014, where the English translator refers to our feathery friends as Cucco.
Let's start with the Cucco.
Twilight Princess contradicts this translation a bit with this ambiguous rhyming couplet, but I'm going to ignore that and stick with the Hyrule Warriors Direct. Following the commercial success of its predecessors, Nintendo was able to allocate more funding and time to the development of A Link to the Past. The introduction of the SNES and new 8 megabit cartridges afforded the developers an expansive, detailed world. Cuccos were originally implemented to help Kakariko Village feel inhabited and alive, but their existence could hardly be justified beyond a punching bag for players. Miyamoto wondered, how could they get players excited about these hens? Could they be something more? It was these questions that would take the Cucco from accessory to icon. So what did Nintendo do to make these birds so popular? To understand that, we have to look even further back in history. 500 BC, Greece. En route to battle with the Persian Empire, an Athenian army stopped to observe 2 roosters fighting on the side of the road. General Themistocles gathered and addressed his men. Behold, these do not fight for their household gods, for the monuments of their ancestors, for glory, for liberty, or the safety of their children, but only because one will not give way to the other. And then Miyamoto said, the bird chicken thing should fight, bro. The developers engineered in a bit of lighthearted design. Attacking a Cucco several times would cause the bird to summon a flock and swarm the perpetrator. This mechanic would come to be known as Cucco's Revenge Squad, and the critters quickly became a fan favorite. As I mentioned before, 1991's A Link to the Past would mark the Cucco's debut in Japan, followed by North American and European releases the next year. Moderate in terms of raw power, these Cuccos required over 30 attacks to aggravate. Despite establishing the basic Cucco formula, A Link to the Past included its fair share of quirks. In Kakariko Village, you can find a Cucco who turns into a human when sprinkled with magic powder, although they don't have much to say. Skeletal Cuccos exist as a Dark World counterpart, and in the 2002 Game Boy Advance port, Cuccos would make an appearance in the quest for the Whirlwind Sword attack in the form of a riddle. The riddle goes as follows. Cock-a-doodle-doo. What is it? Nice. Nice. Jumping forward a few years, Link's Awakening brought both a minor story role for Cuccos and the first and only game in which you could directly kill them by burning them alive. The aforementioned story rule refers to the blue flying rooster Link revives using the frog Song of Soul, who you can then use to cross certain gaps. It would be 5 years until the release of a new Zelda game. Following Super Mario 64, The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time signaled the height of Nintendo's early 3D era and set the gold standard for both action-adventure games and Cucco lethality. Giving fans a first look at three-dimensional Cuccos, Ocarina of Time's poultry were a force to be reckoned with. Relentless and incapacitating, these birds would only tolerate 3 strikes before retaliation, becoming less of an obscure Easter egg and more of a legitimate concern. Ocarina of Time included the Kakariko Collect Quest, a Cucco minigame, and popularized the gliding mechanic, each of which would make appearances in future installments. In Kakariko Village, Link meets Anju, who introduces a genetically modified hypoallergenic fowl, the Pocket Cucco. After demonstrating a knack for avian foster care, Anju gives Link Kojiro, a rare blue Cucco. Soon after, Link returns Kojiro to his original owner, Grog, in exchange for the next item of the questline. However, Grog is never to be seen again, reportedly having turned to Beast. Grog is one of the only minor characters to not appear in the Lon Lon Ranch celebration during the end credits. So my question is, what happened to Kojiro? It would be 21 years before we heard anything on the subject. A sprite of Kojiro, complete with several name translations, mysteriously appeared in the source code for 2019's Cadence of Hyrule, despite being entirely unused in the final game. Clearly, Nintendo has not forgotten about our blue friend. I patiently await the return of Kojiro. But wait. The story rule refers to the blue flying rooster Link revives using the frog Song of Soul. Link's Awakening. Could the reanimated blue flying rooster be Kojiro? Link's Awakening succeeds Ocarina of Time in the canonical timeline. Is it possible that Kojiro met its fate here, only to be revived by Link years later? Link's Awakening is clear in stating that this bird is a rooster, and nowhere in Ocarina of Time does it specify the gender of Kojiro. But I would speculate that Kojiro is male based on his comb. That is, assuming that Cuccos and chickens share the same sexual dimorphism. However, we're forgetting that Link's Awakening takes place entirely within a dream, so I don't think we have anything here. Nonetheless, Ocarina of Time's slightly unsettling Cucco model is still one of my favorites. The Legend of Zelda: Majora's Mask, a game famous for reusing models from Ocarina of Time, actually introduced a new Cucco stage of life, chicks. Putting on the Bremen mask and marching around these little guys causes the chicks to rapidly grow into full-grown Cuccos. Later, the 3DS remake featured Cucco fish, so The Legend of Zelda, Oracle of Seasons, and Oracle of Ages were released throughout 2001 globally. The big highlight of these games is the mention of a Cucco Dex, said to be the result of many years of Cucco research, which at this point I would pay serious money that I don't have to get my hands on. The Game Boy swapped color for Advance, and The Legend of Zelda: The Minish Cap marked the final Zelda game to grace the Game Boy family. Anju's Cucco Collect Quest from Ocarina of Time made its second appearance, now including yellow-feathered Cuccos and not much else. The GameCube era kicked off with the Wind Waker's cel-shaded graphics and pigs, sustained through Four Swords Adventure's Cucco minigames, and concluded with the most convoluted Cucco cameo yet, The Legend of Zelda: Twilight Princess. Better known for its Wii port, Shigeru Miyamoto used Twilight Princess as an opportunity to roll out the red carpet for Cuccos. He opened up the color palette and said, "Let there be brown and gray." It almost seems like this game went to great lengths to slander and misconstrue the prestigious Cucco brand. With the release of the Wii, Nintendo was fully committed to the funky path and decided to throw a curveball at the classic Cucco formula. Attack a Cucco too many times, become the Cucco. What? Now, you can probably imagine the insane speedrunning implications of this feature. I'm kidding, this had no purpose whatsoever. Cuccos were, for the first time ever, swimming, talking, writing poems, running amusement parks, and ruling over villages full of cats. At one point, Russell lends you his golden Cucco to glide across the deep gorge to the sacred grove, with no explanation at all as to where he got such a creature. This really got me thinking about the liberties Nintendo takes with the Zelda universe. Phantom Hourglass was released alongside the rising popularity of the DS, and provided, from what I've gathered, the first example of Cucco name-calling. A nod to their real-life counterparts, Ciela often refers to Linebeck as a Cucco, and I kinda don't blame her. Yeah, fuck you, linebacker. Loruli and Cuccos made their debut with The Legend of Zelda: A Link Between Worlds on the 3DS, resembling vultures with balding heads and dark feathers. This game also included one of the most popular minigames of the Zelda series, one that I was yet to try my hand at. The main objective of Cucco Ranch is to avoid the stampede of Cuccos for 30 seconds. Upon completing all 3 difficulties, an endless mode is unlocked, in which, if you max out the 999-second timer, you are crowned Cucco Master. Now, I'm not one to back down from a challenge, and it would seem that if anyone is worthy of such a designation, it should be me. However, I knew not what I was up against. If I was to pass this challenge, I would need some help, some guidance, from someone who's been around the series longer than I. I would need a hero. Chris, dude, thanks for meeting, man. I really need your help.
Oh, I know why you're here. Come on, sit down. Have a seat.
Oh, thank you.
So, what brings you here?
What bring you?
What?
You just said that you knew why. I've been trying to beat this Cucco dodgy minigame, but it's just so hard, dude. I can't get past it.
It's so hard, I can't get past it. You tried fucking. You're just not doing it right. Let's go for a walk. Let's walk and talk.
Yeah, dude, I've tried dodging, ducking, dipping, diving. I've tried everything.
Have you tried dodging?
Dude, I'm telling you, I've tried it all.
Have a seat. I don't think you have what it takes to be the Cucco.
Dude,
master.
I've been practicing for like 20 minutes.
Let's do it.
What is this?
My grandfather's thong.
Chris, I guess I just don't really see how this is gonna. Dude,
You can dodge and fall. You can dodge a Cucco. Round 2, bitch.
no, whoa. Who is this guy? Oh my god. Whoa, stop. Chris, stop, dude, stop, man. It's just a video game, man. How is this gonna help me?
Sorry, I got a little carried away, I guess. I want the best for you, man. I want you to succeed.
I appreciate that.
Come on, let's go for a walk.
Oh, come on! Finally, we've reached Breath of the Wild. Equally refined, retrospective, and ambitious, the game that redefined action-adventure would breathe new life into the Cucco experience, starting with a twist on a classic mechanic. A first for the series, enemies were now subject to the wrath of Cucco's revenge squad, effectively weaponizing the creatures. Satisfying a near 30-year craving, bird eggs were the first consumable items ever dropped by Cuccos. This opened up the door to omelets, pilaf, crepes, and interestingly, bird eggs are the only item in the game you can boil. The gliding capability returned in Breath of the Wild, however, it's essentially a novelty considering the convenience of the glider. Similarly, Ocarina of Time's Collect Quest shows up once again, this time starring Kato, a young man whose passion for Cuccos is nothing short of admirable. Kato's journal reads, "Well, my wife left me today. The last thing she said to me was, 'What's more important, the Cuccos or me?' I chose the Cuccos. Like any good man should." With cameos ranging from Diablo, Smash, and Sonic, to the Rooster escort quests of Hyrule Warriors, the Cucco's prestige has extended far beyond its humble origins. To me, Cuccos and their quirks embody exactly what distinguishes the Legend of Zelda IP from thousands of other medieval fantasies. The chaotic and whimsical evolution of this bird epitomizes Nintendo's relaxed approach to world building and their willingness to experiment at their own expense. Where other franchises strive for consistency and coherence across projects and mediums, Zelda embraces its funky diversity. Its characters and worlds are portrayed through a huge variety of games, media, and art styles, yet always feel authentic and familiar. The developers don't even understand their own timeline, and that is a beautiful thing. In Guns, Germs, and Steel, Jared Diamond designates poultry as useful to humanity, but not quite the history-altering beasts that were the horse and the ox. Clearly, my man is not a Cucco master. However, although not every animal can be a hero, The Legend of Zelda showed us that a hero can come from any animal, even a chicken. I mean, Cucco, fuck.